Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing fine. I'm also okay. The President of the Republic is touring Mount Kenya this week, and there is mixed reaction. There are those who feel like there is no need visiting or touring a region that is evidently opposed to everything you do, a region that is leading in the Ruto must go chorus. But there are also those who are feeling like, as the President of the Republic, you serve 54 million Kenyans, whether they agree with you or they don't agree with you. After all of us are taxpayers. So in this video, I want to share with you three main reasons why I believe the president is visiting the region. And if this is something you are interested in, continue watching. If you're watching this channel for the first time, take a moment, subscribe, so that whenever we do a video of this nature, you will be notified. Before we go into the reasons, let us look at a few facts. Mount Kenya region gave William Ruto the most votes in the last election. Anyone who tells you that Mount Kenya did not play a role in getting President Ruto to State House is lying. In fact, I can confidently say that had Mount Kenya backed someone else, Ruto would not be president today. So the president owes his presidency to other Kenyans, but most importantly, to the people of Mount Kenya. That is a fact that you cannot run away from. Another fact is that anytime you bring Raila Odinga and Luos on board, you will lose Kikuyus. And there are people who have issues with this. There are people who differ with this. There are people who say that is tribalism or what. No, it is the ugly truth. Once you bring Raila on board or you bring Raila into government, you will lose the people of Mount Kenya. Uhuru tried that in 2018, and the Murima left him, even though they had voted for him twice in 2017. When Ruto did the same and brought Raila on board, he has lost Mount Kenya. Majority of them would rather be out. It's okay for people to create other reasons why they left Ruto, because saying you left because of Raila might not sound measured. So people would come up with issues like, no, we're just saying Ruto has not delivered, the promises he made is not delivering on the promises, or the cost of living has gone high. What I want you to ask any person who tells you this is that when Raila Odinga and his people were on the street, allegedly to protest the cost of living, the people of Murima, the people of Mount Kenya, did not join that. They were not part of it. They stood by Ruto. So, when people go to the street to state that the cost of living is high and President Ruto is not fulfilling his promises, Mount Kenya stood by Ruto. They disagreed. In fact, I remember some of them we were telling people the things that the president has achieved and also even educating them about the cost of living. Today, the same people will meet you and tell you they are opposing Ruto because the cost of living is high. What a coincidence that this change of mind happened when in June 2023, President Ruto allowed for the national dialogue, a talk between the opposition and the government. What a coincidence. How can it be that you have nothing, this has nothing to do with Raila, but because Raila has joined, automatically you are out. You are opposing the same things you were supporting yesterday. Before Raila joined, affordable housing was okay. SHA was fine. Almost every other thing was okay. Fertilizer was fine. Hustler Fund was the best thing that has ever happened. Raila joins, and immediately, affordable housing is a scam. Hustler Fund is the most useless thing. SHA will never work. There is no coincidence in politics. What has happened is that when Raila gets in, the people of Murima will get out. That is a fact that I needed to share also. The third important thing that we need to also say here is that 90% of elected leadership from Mount Kenya do still support William Ruto. You can actually count the people who support Rigathi, because you will be like so and so from Kiambu, so and so from Nyandarua, so and so from Laikipia. In fact, elected leaders, so and so from very few. Mostly they are barely 10 or at most 12. The rest of the elected leaders from Mount Kenya have stuck with William Ruto. Why am I saying this? Because it makes us understand the region to which the president is going to tour, and also why it is important to tour this region. There are people who think that so long as that the fact that Mount Kenya is doing everything to get rid of Ruto, that the region should be ignored. That is myopic, in my opinion. You see, if you are a president and your intention is to leave a united country, you don't do what Uhuru did in 2018. Because what Uhuru did was he built new bridges by destroying the existing ones. And Ruto is not going to repeat that mistake. And that brings us to the reason number one. The people of Mount Kenya are integral to the development of this country, just like anyone else. And there is no way you can run Kenya by ignoring 10 counties that make up Mount Kenya. So they deserve the visit. The first reason is, as other Kenyas, as other regions, Mount Kenya deserve the presidential tour. And as I was saying, this is where Uhuru went wrong. When Uhuru brought Raila on board, he literally did an exchange. He said, now that I brought the Luos, his hope was that the Luos were going to join with Kikuyus and give him the victory that he wanted for his preferred candidate come 2022. What he did is that now he cut off the Kalenjins. In fact, I can dare you to tell me if Uhuru visited or toured the Kalenjin region after bringing Raila on board. What he did is he created a new bridge, excellent, with Raila, but then he broke down an existing bridge with the Kalenjin community. The people of Rift Valley barely saw Uhuru Kenyatta after the 2018 handshake. He destroyed the bridge. William Ruto is saying that is useless politics. Politics that will not achieve something for the country. Because if you are going to bring in Luos, and then the next thing is to now distance yourself from Kikuyus, the country you are building is not the country called Kenya. Because you can't have Kenya without others. You cannot have a Kenya that ignores the rest. And that brings me to one of the challenges we have in this country, especially with some people from the mountain. There are people in the mountain who are persuaded that you can actually develop this country without bringing in Western on board. And so they have no problem if they are in government and Western is continuously and perpetually in opposition. There is no problem with that. But that is not how you develop a country. You cannot develop one region at the expense of the rest of the country. Nor can you ignore a region so that you can appease the entire country. No. You have to move the country forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first reason why the president is visiting and touring Mount Kenya, he has visited Mount Kenya, don't forget, but he's doing a development tour, 5-day development tour of Mount Kenya, is because they, just like other Kenyans, deserve a presidential tour. They are also subjects of William Ruto, if I may. The second reason why the president is visiting Mount Kenya, in my opinion, is to defeat a very dangerous narrative. And so what is the narrative? The narrative that the anti-Rutos are running in the mountain, which is purely, which is 100% based on lies, is that, number one, the president has abandoned the elected leaders who stood by him. And these leaders are now being mocked that even though you stood by me, or you by the president and always does whatever he wants, he is now more interested and focused on the new people he has brought on board, and you no longer matter. The second narrative is that the projects that were started, development projects that were started in Mount Kenya, have been deliberately stalled to punish the people of Mount Kenya. So if there was a road that was being done, that road was cancelled. If there is anything that was being done there, it's been cancelled to punish the Kikuyus. And the third and very dangerous narrative that is being run there is that the president hates Kikuyus and the people of Mount Kenya. That he would rather tour Mandera, tour Northeastern, go to Nyanza, go to Coast, and go to any other place, but will not visit the mountain. So this visit is to debunk these narratives, these myths, these claims that are being made, that the president hates the people of the mountain, that the president has deliberately stalled projects so that the people can no longer develop, and yet they pay taxes, and also that the president no longer cares about the loyalty he is enjoying from the elected leaders in the region. So to debunk all this, the president is visiting the region. If you looked at the president's itinerary, you would find that it is mostly a development, not a political tour. The president will be commissioning programs or projects that have been completed. The ones that had been launched but are now completed will be commissioned. The president also will be visiting ongoing projects. So it's not true that there is no project that is ongoing in the mountain or completed. No, they are there. But the narrative that is being run is that there is nothing that the president is doing. The president has abandoned the people of Mount Kenya. He no longer cares about them and has deliberately starved them of economic development. And so the president's tour will be about commissioning completed projects, visiting ongoing projects, and of course, launching new development projects in the various parts of Mount Kenya. Actually, we'll visit the 9 counties that make the 9 out of 10 counties of Mount Kenya. That is Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Nyeri, Embu, Tharaka, Meru, Laikipia, and Nyandarua. He will not be visiting Nakuru now. And in most of these places, the president will be commissioning completed projects, visiting ongoing ones, and launching new ones. This will dispel the lies. It will make people realize that what they have been told all along, that the president doesn't like them, that the president is done with the region, that the president is trying to punish or starve the region, is a lie. By doing this tour, the president would have communicated that even though there is a political difference now, these people are still Kenyans who pay taxes. And not just that, they are still serious stakeholders in this government. Is going there to destroy a very dangerous narrative. And you may be asking, why is the president going there just to destroy a narrative? Why can't he just allow them to say what they're saying? After all, they are lying. No. In politics, there are some things you allow to, you just ignore. But there are others you don't ignore, because the more you ignore them, the more they are picked to be the truth. For instance, the media, mainstream media, with their friends on the social media, have always been running a narrative that President Ruto has borrowed more in 2 years than Uhuru Kenyatta borrowed in 10 years. Of course, that is a lie. There is no way you can even borrow that. You can't borrow 10 trillion in 2 years. And while people treated this lie with the contempt it deserved, there are people who are persuaded that actually Ruto has borrowed more than Uhuru did, which is a lie. So that's just an example of lies. You don't allow certain lies to go unchallenged. Because if you allow these lies to go unchallenged, ladies and gentlemen, they develop a life of their own and are eventually accepted as the gospel truth. See? So that is why the president has to go to the mountain. There is a lie, there is incitement, there is everything that is being done there. They are running very dangerous narratives in the Murima area, and the president has to go and confirm to the people that I am here for you the way I am there for all other Kenyans. The beauty is that Mount Kenya will not vote in one basket. And that brings me to the third reason why the president is visiting Mount Kenya. Political reason. And like I was saying, Mount Kenya is no longer going to vote in one basket. As long as none of their son is going for the top seat, Mount Kenya will divide the votes. In fact, when two of their sons are going for the top seat, Mount Kenya still divides the vote. If you went back to 2002, when the top candidates were both from Mount Kenya, one from Kiambu, another from Nyeri, 30% voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. And 70% of the people of Mount Kenya voted for Mwai Kibaki. But when their son is alone, is competing against another, like in the case of 2007, when Kibaki was against Raila, they voted for Kibaki to a man. Majority of them, Raila got negligible percentage from Mount Kenya. They voted for Kibaki to a man. The same happened in 2013 when they were voting for Uhuru Kenyatta. And in fact, in 2017, the turnout in Mount Kenya was the highest in their history. You can go and confirm, when they were voting for Uhuru Kenyatta to be re-elected. And in 2022, because none of their son was on the ballot, Mount Kenya gave 13% to Raila Odinga. That is not voting in one basket. Even though over 80% voted for William Ruto, 13% voted for Raila Odinga. And that is what, ladies and gentlemen, is going to happen in 2027. Majority of the people in Mount Kenya, unless otherwise, are not going to vote for William Ruto. So politics is fluid and there may be changes. Who knew that Raila Odinga and William Ruto would be working together today? But unless something drastically happens, majority of the people in Mount Kenya are going to vote against William Ruto. Like most communities in Kenya, the people of Mount Kenya also vote against, not for somebody. That is how most communities vote. They vote against specific individual. And in 2027, Mount Kenya is likely to vote against President Ruto, but not all of them. So this small percentage, whether it will be 10, whether it will be 20, whether it will be 30%, that small percentage must be told why they need to stick with William. So we have people in Mount Kenya who are like, we can give this guy a chance, but at least they have to see that they are not ignored. Because if there are people in Mount Kenya who politically support William Ruto, and there are, by the way, there are people in Mount Kenya who support William Ruto genuinely and have been supporting him and are praying for him and are understanding what he's doing. Of course, the number is not the majority, but they are there nonetheless. These people must be convinced that William Ruto deserves their support. And so when the president visits the region and speaks to them and reminds them of his transformative agenda, that this is what I came to you with during the campaign. I asked you to support me so that when I take over, I will ensure we have a universal health cover. I will ensure that we save you from predatory lenders by bringing something called Hustler Fund. I will ensure that we create jobs and try to get Kenyans decent houses through affordable housing and other things. I ensured you, I told you that if you give me a chance, I would subsidize consumption. So, ladies and gentlemen, so far, this is what I'm doing, and this is where we are. These are people who want to hear a status update, if you may. They want to know the president they stand with, the president they are supporting, even though the circumstances are not very easy as they were before. Where is this president in as far as implementation of the promises are concerned? And so the president is going to the mountain for this specific group also. He's going to meet them to tell them that I have done this and this and this. And he has done that in he's done that at the coast. He's done that in Luo Nyanza. The president has done that in Western. He's been to Northeastern. He has shared these things with the people. He's told them, this is what I promised and this is where we are. And the people of Mount Kenya also deserve to hear that, especially the ones who are still supporting the president. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would have given you a lot, especially the itinerary, but we will still talk about this. We will try to cover the political happenings and the development journey of the president as he tours Mount Kenya. There are people who think that it might not turn out well, that the president might be booed or heckled. I don't think that will happen. I know there might be a few cases of people sponsored here and there to say Ruto must go. That is normal in politics, but not to an extent that it will interrupt the president's economic tour or development tour. Even regarding with this team, as arrogant as they are, they will not be so much interested in confronting the president as he visits the mountain. I think their prayer is that the attendance is low. I believe their prayer is that there might be some people naturally rebelling with what the president is saying, which I don't think will happen. But should it happen, it will not be bad enough to interfere with the entire visit. That is my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. If you need us to talk more about this Mount Kenya visit, let me know in the comment section. Just as a reminder, lest you forget, the president is going to the mountain for 3 reasons. Those are Kenyans. They deserve the visit of the president like any other Kenyan. There is a dangerous narrative being run there by the likes of Rigathi, which is trying to alienate the region from the rest of Kenya. And number 3, we are talking about a political reason. There are people who support the president and they need a status update on where the president is as far as implementation of the promises are concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your views are. Do you think it is the right move for the president to visit Mount Kenya now? What are your expectations? Are you one of those people who think it is going to go south, or are you one of those optimistic people who are saying there will be nothing different from what happened everywhere else he visited? Let me know what you think in the comment section. We'll engage there. And if you found value in this video, ladies and gentlemen, just take a moment, like this video, and if possible, share it with friends. And if you are a regular watcher but you've not subscribed, just subscribe and enable the notification bell so that whenever I release videos of this nature, you will be notified so that we benefit together. Otherwise, if you want to know what happened between Mulema and the president who betrayed the other, watch this video.